Welcome everyone to our exam special program. So we have today with us Durgesh Mangeshkar ji. Everyone knows him, but I will give a short and sweet introduction about him. He's an alumni from IIT Bombay and University of Massachusetts. He is a director of IIT Pratikshtan Kendra for past 21 years. He has designed long-term classroom programs and executed those programs, which has yielded excellent results. So around 1400 plus IIT ranks and 150 plus MBBS admissions have happened due to his long-term classroom programs execution. Um, he is he also loves teaching physics, chemistry, and maths to the student, as well as he loves counseling the students regarding the studies, career, and life. Any other situation that you are in, he loves to counsel people. He also has interest in spirituality. As a result of that, he's been a volunteer for Art of Living Foundation, and he's also part of many of the service projects that Art of Living is conducting. So welcome Durgesh ji to our program, and it is we are very thankful that you have joined us and given us your such a precious time for the kids for this exam special program.
My
Welcome again.
pleasure. My pleasure.
So, uh, sir, everyone here wants to know, when they are doing the studies for the 10th, right? The exams are much easier, but as soon as they go for a competitive exams, the exams become harder, the results come in the negative. And so what is the difference between these two exams? Why they are so different?
Yeah, see, basically, first to 10th standard, the focus is mostly on known concepts and known questions. Okay, so what the teacher teaches, either in the school or in the tuitions, is there in the books. And what is there in the books is what comes in the exam. So if a child is sincere, the child is studious, and complies with the guidelines given by the teachers and in the school or the tuitions, the child usually does well in the school. So basically, school marks are a function of the child's sincerity, not necessarily. It doesn't indicate that the child has a deep understanding of the subject, because the questions asked in school exams are also not very tough, and it is right from the school side, because the school doesn't necessarily have students who are of a one particular uh, intellectual level. They have students of all different, it's across the spectra, right? So therefore, the school also has to pitch somewhere in the middle to take care of both the extremes and also those in the middle of the curve. So therefore, from the school side, they are right. They shouldn't ask too very difficult or very applied questions. But what happens in this journey from first to 10th in any board, whether it is state board, CBSE, ICSE, uh, to some extent, I would say IB and IGCSE में ये कम होता है, because there the student is somewhere encouraged to think on his own and do some research and submit projects. So at least in good IB, IGCSE schools, this issue is a little less. But at least in the first to 10th, in almost all of the schools, this known concepts, known questions paradigm is used. And because of that, what happens is the child is trained just to, जो book में देखा वो ही परीक्षा में आएगा. But in entrance exams, when they go to write these different entrance exams like JEE, NEET, and many others after 12th, they are confronted with a different situation of known concepts, unknown questions. So basically, the questions asked in the test are based on the concepts which are there in the books, which may have been taught to them in school or in maybe tuitions, but the questions are not familiar. They're different questions. So there the child in the exam, in 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, whatever, has to think as to which concept will be useful to solve this question, and then apply it right and get the answer. This requires a totally different learning approach. And because the learning approach is different, that is why ये जो 11-12 के 2 साल में बच्चों को काफी बार तकलीफ होती है. तो but right guidance and with right mentoring and teaching, they can overcome all this. So the kids of the current generation are very smart. They are very fast. They can grasp things very soon. So it is possible to guide these kids and mold them to switch from this paradigm of known concepts, known questions to known concepts, unknown questions. I'll give you one example. In a typical 2 years JEE advanced course, we do around 30,000 questions in for the students. Lectures, study material, assignments, tests. The student goes through almost 30,000 questions, at least on an average. None of those 30,000 questions appear on the day of the JEE advanced. They are confronted with typically around uh, close to 100, 110 totally new, innovative questions. So it's not knowledge, it's the test of ability to think within 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and recollect and understand which concept has to be used at this particular situation, and figuring it out, writing down the required mathematical equations and cracking the question and getting the answer. And that is negative marking, so you should have a lot of conviction before answering the question. But this is just about JEE NEET. But other exams also test an aptitude of some faculty of the mind to some extent or the other. But most of these competitive and entrance exams are based on, again, I repeat, known concepts. Concepts are known to kids. They know this, they have learned it somewhere, but they haven't learned higher levels or higher degree of application of those skills. And that is why they struggle in these competitive and entrance exams. And that's why some specialized coaching is needed or training is needed or whatever.
Okay, so basically the concept इतना strong होना चाहिए कि you can mold it as per the requirements.
राइट राइट, उसका उनको एक्सपोजर देना चाहिए कि इस कंसेप्ट को आप 10 जगह पे यूज करेंगे तो क्या होता है. बिकॉज आई विल जस्ट टेल यू वन एग्जांपल ऑफ फिजिक्स बिकॉज दैट्स माय फेवरेट सब्जेक्ट.
Mhm.
न्यूटन में तीन ही लॉज दिए थे ऑफ मोशन, जस्ट 3 लॉज. इन द फर्स्ट 9 months इन आवर कोर्स वी जस्ट डू दिस 3 लॉज ऑफ मोशन, दैट्स ऑल. अब बोलेंगे क्या 3 ही लॉ तो है, वो तो रट लिया, 10th स्टैंडर्ड में रट लिया होता है बच्चों ने, और लिखा भी रहता है एग्जाम में, मार्क्स ही मिल जाते हैं 10 बोर्ड्स में पूरा. हम फर्स्ट 9-10 months में सिर्फ 3 लॉस पर काम करते हैं. उसी को पुली प्रॉब्लम है, उसी को वेज प्रॉब्लम है, उसी को एक बॉडी को छोड़ दिया तो उस प्रॉब्लम है, कार मूविंग का प्रॉब्लम है, चेन प्रॉब्लम, स्ट्रिंग प्रॉब्लम, स्प्रिंग प्रॉब्लम. यही 3 लॉस कैसे 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 अलग अलग सिचुएशन में यूज होते हैं. इट्स अमेजिंग. एंड उसके आगे का भी पूरा फिजिक्स और इंजीनियरिंग यही 3 लॉस पे बेस्ड है, तो डायरेक्टली इनडायरेक्टली उसके साथ और भी लॉज जुड़ जाते हैं, लेकिन ये 3 लॉस तो रहते ही रहते हैं. So it is amazing that 3 very second and very fundamental ideas, how it can be applied in a diverse set of situations. And this is something which school education and even junior college education does not have. And that is why students का वो thinking ही नहीं develop होता है. और because they don't have that, वो थिंकिंग डेवलप नहीं होता है, इसीलिए वो स्ट्रगल करते हैं. बच्चों में थिंकिंग एबिलिटी है, लेकिन वो थिंकिंग एबिलिटी को किंडल करने के लिए जो एक एक्सपोजर देना चाहिए एक टीचर ने या किसी फॉर्मल एजुकेशन, वो काफी बार नहीं मिलता. और इसके वजह से फिर कैपेबिलिटी होने के बजाय भी the child doesn't exhibit that potential because the child is not exposed to these kind of situations. But the child is exposed to this different set of problems, or how the same concept can be applied in different ways. The child really enjoys it. I still remember there was one situation when we has taking the last few days of our J advanced classes, and somehow that is the time when we usually every teacher comes up with the best questions that they know of. तो मुझे एक पर्टिकुलर क्वेश्चन बहुत अच्छा लगता था, तो I knew many methods to solve that question because in my years of teaching somewhere I had learned 8-9 ways of solving it. So I went with that thinking कि okay, let me go to the class, and this was our topmost batch, so our genius batch. So वहाँ पे सिखा लिया 8-9 question, and I taught them 8 ways of solving that question. There were 2-3 very bright kids in the class, and they suggested the 9th, 10th, 11th, and the 12th way to solve the question. I
Wow.
learned 4 new ways. I myself, as a teacher, learned 4 new ways. We all enjoyed it in the class. So now next year, I went with 12 methods to solve that question. I learned a 13th method. Another kid came up with another way to solve the same question, same question. So see, this is the creativity which should be developed, and it is possible to develop within a child who is a 15, 16, 17-year-old. And that's fun because then because there's no need to solve by 15 methods. Even if you solve it by one method, it is good enough actually. But why you try to solve by different ways is because you feel there is so much depth in it, so much profundity in it. And it is possible to approach a same question by multiple methods. So this is the basic thing. I'll just tell you one more story if you permit me.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah. This is a story which I often tell my students, but this is something very interesting. There was back in 1996 when I was in IIT Bombay, there was this International Maths Olympiad event which was held, and India was a host to it. It's like the Olympic Games of mathematics, and every country represents five students like that. So there was one Romanian student, a very genius student, who was a double gold medalist, and he was going to be he's likely to win the gold for the third time, and that would be a world record because nobody has won three consecutive golds in the International Olympiad. And this is a very tough exam, very tough exam. So basically, three questions are asked, and 4.5 hours are given. It's the toughest exam in the world today. So out of those three questions, even if you solve one, you are a bronze medalist or a silver medalist. Mil sakta hai. So one day got over, 4.5 hours day got over, and that Romanian kid came back to his room. And one of my friends in IIT was a kind of the team companion for the Romanian team. So he was there. So he said, "अरे मैंने तो IIT का exam पहले लिखा था अभी तो let me just try out a maths Olympiad question." So he just tried it and he solved it within half an hour. He got that question. One question out of three he could solve in half an hour. He was so happy. So he went into the room where that Romanian kid was there and he was still solving something. Despite 4.5 hours of exam, he came back. The others were all sleeping around, but he actually was still solving. He asked him, what have you done? He said, "I am solving this first question." So my friend was so happy. He said, "Double gold medalist ko nahi aaya problem solve karne ko." See, look, I have solved it. He looked at the solution. He looked at the solution. That Romanian kid just looked at the solution and said, "Okay, fine." And he started doing his work. He said, "Kya hua? Galat kiya kya?" "No, I have already solved it by this method. Now I am trying to solve it by the fourth method." So
Wow.
he had solved the same question in three ways, but he was not satisfied. He thought there was a more efficient way to solve it. And that's why, despite 4.5 hours of work, he came back to his room and he was still trying to work out a fourth way to solve it. Obviously, my friend never discussed mathematics with this fellow again. he discussed some pani puri, bhel puri, वो गेटवे ऑफ इंडिया पे कहीं जाएंगे वगैरह बिकॉज अपनी औकात नहीं है इनसे बात करने की तो काइंड ऑफ तो तो but I'm trying to say is that obviously he won the gold for the third time, but the point is the passion which some students who do well have is they're not thinking of competition. They're not thinking of getting first rank and second rank and at 60 and 90% and 95. No, they are interested deeply in the subject. They
Mm.
have intense passion for the subject. So they don't care whether it's there in the book or not. They go beyond the book and they go into that creative space. So love is the mother of knowledge. I always say that. So if you love something, knowledge flows. So this is basically the gist of it. Sorry, I took more time.
No, but आपका वो जो last line है, which makes a lot of sense. Like love is the love जितना आप किसी भी सब्जेक्ट को करते हो, knowledge आपके पास आता है. And I see that when you're doing something, you find different ways to try to do it the same thing,
Yes.
right? Uh,
Yes.
like I like to cook, and then I try pav bhaji different ways to see
Correct.
which
Correct.
will give
Yes.
me quicker and
Absolutely.
faster result.
Yes. But we
It's
eat
the
in
same
one way
thing
only.
with yeah, but the same thing
I
with
understand.
physics
Same
and
thing. Same thing.
maths. Yeah,
Absolutely. Same thing.
yeah. But then the second question जो आता है कि जब भी हम एग्जाम के लिए जाते हैं, how
Yes.
should be our behavior? How should we go? What attitude we should have? क्योंकि भी डर लगता है, स्ट्रेस्ड आउट होते हैं हम, हाथ पैर दोनों में स्वेटिंग हो रहा होता है, तो डू यू हैव एनी सॉल्यूशंस और एनी सजेशंस फॉर दैट?
Yeah, it depends on the exam that you're going to, but basically, as long as you're going to school exams and board exams and college exams, where, as I said, the studiousness aspect matters a lot, the knowledge aspect matters a lot. It's not any great ability which is going to be tested in these school or board exams, and it's not some lot of creativity is needed to crack that exam. ऐसे exams को approach करने के लिए, I would say your sincerity, your consistent study is most important. So it's not to create some attitude before the exam that is going to help you. If you're not studied, you're not going to do well. Simple. But if it comes to entrance exams and these competitive exams, which are उसमें सिर्फ knowledge part नहीं होता है. In these entrance exams and competitive exams में 50-60% of your success is because of your knowledge or your even problem solving ability. But 40%, 50% of your success, almost 50% of your success is because of your exam behavior, your exam temperament, how calm and centered are you able to be in those 2 hours, 3 hours of the examination? So exam behavior counts a lot. So we have seen so many students who are very studious, who are very knowledgeable, who were able to solve problems, who are very good in the subject, but still did not do well in these high pressure competitive exams. And there are not one or two examples, there are many such examples. And that is because their exam behavior was not seasoned. They had not worked on exam behavior. So therefore, it is necessary that ये दोनों aspects पे काम करना जरूरी है. It's not just study, solve problems, do test series and all that. That is the knowledge part. That is 50-60% of your success. But 40 to 50% of success will be because of your exam behavior. And exam behavior has something to do with exam strategy, attempt strategy, guessing strategy, exam temperament. Most importantly, exam temperament. Now to talk about what attitude you should go with for any exam, whether it is board or competitive exam. So I can just give one tip, and that is this. Rather two tips I would give you. One is that, I mean, to the students, I mean to say, the first tip is, see, whenever we consider an event, maybe an exam or maybe whatever, to be bigger than us, we are going to be overwhelmed. We are going to be stressed. We are going to be tensed. Okay. It's for natural for anyone. I mean, all of us also. So even a great player, a world champion, he goes out in the field and he plays this match, but if he thinks winning this match or this particular tournament is super important for me, then it becomes like our Indian team in the World Cup cricket finals. But if you realize, or if you see that I am bigger than this event, it doesn't matter whether I get success or failure. I'm going to enjoy the game. I'm going to play the game for the heck of it, and for the sake of it. And I worked hard for it, and let me deliver. This is a great opportunity for me to deliver my performance and exhibit my talent. And I am bigger than the event. Even when I fail, I don't care. If this little bit of, you can say, this kind of attitude is there, usually the child will remain calm and centered in the examination or in that particular event and will succeed. Whatever is the natural potential of the child, that will show. So you have to consider yourself bigger than the exam. This is very important for every child. This is what I would advise you. Don't think the exam is bigger than you. Not at all. You are bigger than the exam. मैं हमेशा बच्चों को बोलता हूँ जो आईआईटी के लिए देते हैं कि आईआईटी की खुश नसीबी होगी तो तुम्हारे जैसा बच्चा आईआईटी को मिलेगा. So let IIT think whether the exam should be made in such a way that I am able to crack it. It's not that I want IIT. IIT should want me. तो ऐसे हुनर के साथ, ऐसे एटीट्यूड के साथ एग्जाम लिखो, see the change that will happen. So therefore, and it makes a difference. Secondly, what I would say is that ये सारा stress, सारा tension, सारा nervousness क्यों आता है? Because of fear of failure. And it is because of wrong understanding of positive thinking. We think that positive thinking ये होता है कि मुझे सक्सेस मिलेगा, सक्सेस मिलेगा, सक्सेस मिलेगा, मुझे फेलियर नहीं मिलेगा, मुझे फेलियर नहीं मिलेगा. 10 बार लिखो मेरा सक्सेस सक्सेस सक्सेस. This is not positive thinking. This is the positive thinking of Norman Vincent Peale or Dale Carnegie. They wrote hundreds of books on positive thinking. Both of them committed suicide due to depression. So basically, what is positive thinking? This is something which Gurudev also has mentioned, a part of living, and in many occasions, that come what may, you should not lose your smile. So essentially, you should be prepared for success as well as failure. So failure is a great teacher. I mean, besides all the teachers who teach you, I personally feel that one of the greatest teachers in our life is failure. So we should acknowledge the role of failure in our life and sometimes embrace failure. Nobody wants failure. Everybody wants success. That's perfectly normal and natural. But when failure comes, we should learn from it. Success doesn't teach much. Success just makes us feel good emotionally. But failure is a great teacher. So therefore, ये जो fear of failure है, that is the cause of all these things. So therefore, if we can, in our mind mentally, before the exam, maybe 2 days, 3 days before the exam, if we can visualize we failing in the examination, doing miserably in the examination, first question nahi aaya, second nahi aaya, third nahi aaya, kuch nahi aaya, and imagine the state of mind that you go through, whatever sensations happen. If you close your eyes and actually visualize that situation, you will see that there is an acceptance of that situation which slowly builds up in your subconscious. And moment that acceptance comes, then your stoicness or your resilience improves. So if at all you were to meet with the same situation in the exam, कि एग्जाम में गए और पहले 4-5 क्वेश्चन नहीं आ रहे हैं, so somewhere your mind is more resilient. It doesn't get shocked. It doesn't get panicked. It doesn't blank out. It is still able to hold its fort and hold on its own, and is able to still navigate and still find out some other questions which is able to do, and eventually do whatever best is possible in that situation. I know for very small kids, this is difficult. It will need hand holding. Some teacher, maybe of art of living, or maybe someone or a good counselor can actually help the child to develop this attitude of acceptance of the possibility of failure. Rejecting the possibility of failure is the cause of stress. So accepting that positive भी होगा, negative भी हो सकता है, and कुछ भी हो जाए तो मुझे नहीं फर्क नहीं पड़ने वाला. I will still be strong and good. My inner happiness won't change. My smile won't change. This is positive thinking. मेरे साथ पॉजिटिव ही होगा, मेरे साथ नेगेटिव होगा ही नहीं, मुझे सक्सेस ही मिलेगा, मुझे फेलियर होगा ही नहीं, ये पॉजिटिव थिंकिंग नहीं है. This is a recipe for stress, and this is a recipe for lot of depression later on. So I don't recommend that at all. So therefore, in our course also, in our JEE and NEET, I say that कम मार्क्स मिल रहे हैं, अच्छी बात है. जितने गलतियां करना है अभी करो. लर्न फ्रॉम योर मिस्टेक्स एंड ग्रो. अगर गलतियां अभी नहीं करोगे तो एक्चुअल एग्जाम में, मेन एग्जाम में गलती होगी. तो इन इंटरनल टेस्ट इट्स ऑलवेज हेल्दी टू मेक मोर मिस्टेक्स एंड स्कोर लेस मार्क्स एंड फेल मोर एंड मोर. आई थिंक वो लाइन है, माइकल जॉर्डन, वन ऑफ द ग्रेटेस्ट बास्केटबॉल प्लेयर्स, हैज said a very nice line. He said something like this: ki, I have failed again and again in my life. Repeatedly, I have failed in my life, and that's why I succeed. He has said that. So, and he's one of the greatest basketball players ever. And ऐसे बहुत सारे लोगों का अच्छा अच्छा statements है. So, besides the teachers who actually teach you, acknowledge one invisible teacher called failure. And if you see that there is a role of this teacher also in my life, I think you will not have this much tension, pressure before typically all these examinations. So one, firstly, you are bigger than the exam. And secondly, I don't have fear of failure. I can fail and I can learn and I can grow further. ऐसा जाएंगे तो फिर the true potential will come out in the exam.
Okay. एक मुझे भी यही बोलना था कि जब मैं पढ़ रही थी तो मैथ्स में ऐसे हो जाता था कि इतने सारे सिली मिस्टेक्स हो जाते थे. तो फिर बाद में वो जो डबल चेकिंग रहता है, राइट, एवरी टाइम यू राइट डाउन द क्वेश्चन यू डबल चेक ओके द नंबर इज करेक्ट और नॉट. वो जो आदत सी पड़ गई, तो दैट हेल्प मी व्हाइल राइटिंग द पेपर. अरे गलती तो मुझसे होती है. और एव्हरीबडी यूज टू टीच मी, अरे तू गलती करने वाली आहे क्योंकि तू इतनी मराठीत म्हणतात तसं धांदरट आहेस की तू नंबर चुकीचाच लिहिणार आहे
बरोबर.
किंवा 8 आणि 9 स्विच करणारच आहेस. तर त्यावेळेला हे होत होतं की अरे आपण डबल चेक केलं पाहिजे की जे लिहितोय ते बरोबर आहे ना. सो ते तुमचं म्हणणं अगदी बरोबर आहे की चुकणारे हे माहितीये, त्यामुळे त्याचं डबल डबल चेकिंग होऊन ते पुढे गेलं पाहिजे. अम, दुसरं म्हणजे असं होतं की बऱ्याचदा एक्झामच्या एक दिवस आधी किंवा 2 दिवस आधी आपल्या लक्षात येतं की वी फॉरगॉट टू स्टडी सम टॉपिक और चॅप्टर. So, what should we do in that situation? Should we do just what we have already done, or should we start that new chapter and work hard on it?
This is a very general question. Current, it depends on student to student and question, exam to exam. But at least for these competitive exams, I will never suggest the students to do anything new in the last 10 to 15 days of their exam.
Okay.
Current, at least for the entrance exams, which is these highly competitive entrance exams, you should stick to your comfort zone in the last 10-15 days. जे already तुम्हाला माहिती आहे, जे तुम्हाला येतं, तेच त्याचं रिव्हिजन करा, त्याची प्रॅक्टिस करा, so that your confidence gets boosted. What you're already good at, if you keep doing that in the last few days, you feel that, oh, I know everything. I know this, I know that, I know that. So that positivity starts coming in more. In the last few days, if you start to look at those things which you are very weak at, with those things which you have not studied at all, then unnecessarily your subconscious catches that worry कि अरे मुझे तो कुछ आता नहीं है यार, तो फिर इसमें से कुछ आएगा तो, and that doubt starts troubling you. So it is better to be in your comfort zone in the last few days. This is what my suggestion is for the entrance exam student. But for the school exam and बोर्ड एग्जाम में अगर कोई छोटा सा चैप्टर है जो इजीली कम टाइम में पढ़ा जा सकता है तो वो करना चाहिए, बिकॉज हर चैप्टर का फिक्स्ड वेटेज रहता है इन द बोर्ड एग्जाम्स. तो फिर यू मस्ट बी नोइंग कि इफ पर्टिकुलर चैप्टर हैज अ हाई वेटेज एंड आई हैव नॉट डन इट एंड थोड़े कम टाइम में मुझे ये कर सकता हूँ, देन यू शुड अटेम्प्ट इट. This is my suggestion, at least for school. But again, as I repeat that this is too general a question, so it's difficult to answer accurately. The answer is also a little vague. But if there are specific examples of exams, then maybe there could be some specific answers also.
Okay. So,
But
आपके बेटे
one more point. I'm just sorry to interrupt.
yeah.
If you're an engineering student, then you're supposed to study a night before. So I mean,
Correct, correct.
so I mean, सो देयरफॉर मतलब वो तो 2 दिन पहले वो छूटा, सब कुछ छूटा रहता है, कुछ भी नहीं किया रहता है। तो वो एग्जाम के 1 दिन पहले, 2 दिन पहले, 1 वीक पहले ही सब कुछ होता है। तो वो तो अलग ही किस्सा है सब कुछ।
Correct,
लेकिन हाँ,
correct.
अगर बच्चों की बात करें जो फर्स्ट स्टैंडर्ड टू ट्वेल्थ की है, तो फिर आई सेड व्हाट आई सेड।
Okay. So, also question is competitive exam में भी ऐसा होता है क्या कि चैप्टर को कुछ वेटेज है या इट कैन बी रैंडम?
डिपेंड्स अगेन ऑन एग्जाम्स। सर्टन एग्जाम्स में दो दे डोंट डिक्लेयर द फिक्स्ड वेटेज, लाइक बोर्ड एग्जाम में वो डिक्लेयर होता है, but competitive exams में declare नहीं होता। But if you analyze the last few years papers, you will see a trend, and by and large that trend remains in many exams. Like नीट के एग्जाम में काफी हद तक ये होता है, सीईटी के एग्जाम में काफी हद तक होता है, लॉ एंट्रेंस में होता है, एमबीए एंट्रेंस में भी मैथमेटिक्स सेक्शन में होता है। बट इन जेई मेंस एंड एडवांस में बिल्कुल नहीं होता। एवरी
अच्छा.
एग्जाम द वेटेज इज क्वाइट अनप्रेडिक्टेबल। सो काफी बार ऐसे हुआ है कि बहुत बड़े बड़े चैप्टर स्टूडेंट्स ने पढ़ा है बिकॉज उसके पहले सालों में काफी वेटेज था, और फिर एक्चुअल एग्जाम में एक भी क्वेश्चन नहीं आया उसका। एंड सम अननो मतलब सम चैप्टर विच स्टूडेंट्स डोंट यूजुअली फोकस ऑन, उस पर काफी कुछ आ गया। तो वो थोड़ा अनप्रेडिक्टेबल है, एंड आई पर्सनली फील इट इज लिटिल क्रूएल ऑन द पार्ट ऑफ द आईआईटीज एंड ऑल टू डू दैट वे। ऐसा करने की आवश्यकता नहीं है, बट अभी है तो है, सिस्टम ऐसा है। तो बट मोस्ट एग्जाम्स में डिक्लेयर नहीं होता कि ये फिक्स्ड वेटेज है, but there is a trend which you can map based on previous year's papers, and if you stick to that also, usually it will pay off.
ओके. मैंने मेरा इंजीनियरिंग वो वेटेज के बेस पे पास किया.
नहीं, वो
जस्ट
सभी लोग करते हैं।
ओके. सो आई हैव सीन राइट, अभी मेरे घर में भी 9th स्टैंडर्ड का बेटा है. सो ये जो इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स वगैरह है, इट इज वेरी डिस्टर्बिंग. लाइक बीच बीच में कुछ तो टुंग टुंग बजता है, तो देन यू आर ऑल, ओ उसमें क्या आया है. तो हाउ डू यू से वी अवॉइड ऑल दिस डिस्ट्रैक्शंस दैट कम इन व्हाइल वी आर स्टडीइंग?
I think this is the most challenging question of this century for parents and teachers alike. इलेक्ट्रॉनिक फीवर को कैसे हैंडल करें, मुश्किल क्वेश्चन है, बिकॉज इलेक्ट्रॉनिक गैजेट्स टुडे आर बिकम अ डबल एज स्वॉर्ड। उनसे एजुकेशन भी हो रहा है, और उसी से डिस्ट्रैक्शन भी हो रहा है। एंड ये दोनों में से बच्चा क्या चूज करेगा एट व्हाट पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम, ये बच्चे के विवेक शक्ति पर ही डिपेंड करता है। एंड चाइल्ड इज स्मॉल, तो विवेक शक्ति कम ही होती है, तो स्लिप होने के चांसेस ज्यादा है। सो मैं आपको एक एनालिसिस बताता हूँ विच माइट प्रोबेबली बी हेल्पफुल। ये जो पैंडेमिक के 2 साल हुए, 2 years of pandemic, 2020 to 2022. So we did an analysis of our two or three of the most important exams, at least in the engineering medical domains. I'm sorry, I'm giving examples only of this because मुझे कुछ और आता नहीं है। हम लोग ने यही काम किया है लास्ट 21-20 साल से, तो मैं उसी का एग्जाम्पल दे रहा हूँ। बट these are some unique analysis which you will not find anywhere. So JEE is written by typically around 11 lakh, 12 lakh students across the nation. NEET is written typically by around 20-21 lakh students across the nation. तो ये दोनों साल में 2020 एंड 2021 में और इवन 2022 में, ये तीनों साल में स्टूडेंट्स रोट द एग्जाम बाय एंड लार्ज प्रिपेयरिंग विद ऑनलाइन मोड ऑफ एजुकेशन। मे नॉट बी इन 2020 बिकॉज उसके पहले उन्होंने पढ़ा था प्री पैंडेमिक, उन्होंने सिर्फ एग्जाम पैंडेमिक के समय लिखा था, लेकिन पढ़ाई उन्होंने काफी हद तक ऑफलाइन के इसमें की थी। बट 2021 एंड 22 दे वर डेफिनेटली ऑनलाइन स्टूडेंट्स अक्रॉस इंडिया। तो वी डिड एन एनालिसिस कि इन बच्चों का परफॉर्मेंस एज कंपेयर टू द प्रीवियस 10 years के स्टूडेंट्स का कैसे है। सो व्हाट वी फाउंड वाज, आई एम जस्ट गिविंग मोटा मोटा एनालिसिस बता रहा हूँ, around 3% to 4% of students did actually better than the previous 10 years students. I'm talking on absolute levels कि सेम लेवल ऑफ डिफिकल्टी के पेपर में 5 साल पहले ऑल इंडिया रैंक टॉपर कितना था, फिर ये कितना था, उसके स्कोर कितने थे, और इन बच्चों ने कितने मिलाए, अगर वो देखेंगे तो शॉकिंगली वी फाउंड दैट 3 to 4% स्टूडेंट्स एक्चुअली डिड बेटर देन द लास्ट 10 year students. About 12% students did as well as the last 10 year students. And the remaining almost 81 or 82% students did it miserably as compared to the remaining 10 year students. इससे हमको ये पता चला कि द स्मार्ट किड, द सेल्फ ड्रिवन किड, द सिंसियर किड, ये इलेक्ट्रॉनिक चीजों का बहुत सदुपयोग करके ही कैन एक्चुअली लर्न फास्टर एंड बेटर एज कंपेयर टू लैंग्वेज. About 10% students manage to just kind of do equally well. But 80% plus, 81, 82%, overwhelmingly, 4 out of every 5 kids, उनका ये इलेक्ट्रॉनिक और ये सब चीजों से नुकसान हो रहा है. एंड सिग्निफिकेंटली लोअर स्कोर्स है काफी लोगों के. लोअर एंड ऑफ द स्पेक्ट्रम में देखेंगे तो हॉरिबल स्कोर्स एज कंपेयर टू द प्रीवियस डेज. सो अगर एवरेज आउट देखा जाएगा ये स्टैटिस्टिक को, अगर हम एक टेम्पलेट करके माने या एक पैरामीटर का बेंचमार्क करके माने, तो ऑनलाइन या इलेक्ट्रॉनिक गैजेट्स का उपयोग से नुकसान ज्यादा है एज कंपेयर टू the upside gains are lesser or in less number of cases as compared to the downward losses. But however, I will reiterate that there are always exceptions of self-driven sincere kids. उनके हाथ में इलेक्ट्रॉनिक गैजेट अनलिमिटेड एक्सेस के लिए देना शायद ठीक ही है, उनका वो अच्छा ही उपयोग करेंगे. बट फॉर द मेजोरिटी ऑफ द केसेस ऐसा नहीं होता है, एंड देयरफॉर पेरेंट्स एंड टीचर्स हैव टू बी वेरी केयरफुल कि कितना समय ये इलेक्ट्रॉनिक गैजेट्स का एक्सेस दिया जाए. एंड देयरफॉर वी व्हेन वी डिजाइन आवर कोचिंग प्रोग्राम आल्सो वी आर वेरी केयरफुल कि बच्चे को स्क्रीन टाइम कितना हो देना चाहिए. सो देयर इज वन की रेशियो व्हिच वी हैव स्टार्टेड टॉकिंग अबाउट, एंड आई एम श्योर इट विल more people should talk about it. I will request all of you also to propagate this. Key ratio is now reading time, reading time to writing time to screen time. ये रेशियो तुम्हारे स्टडी टाइम का कैसे है? चलो बच्चा 2 घंटा पढ़ रहा है दिन में, ठीक है, 6 घंटा पढ़ रहा है, ठीक है, 10 घंटा पढ़ रहा है, डिपेंडिंग ऑन द चाइल्ड, डिपेंडिंग ऑन द एग्जाम. उसमें से रीडिंग टाइम कितना है, राइटिंग टाइम कितना है, और स्क्रीन टाइम कितना है? आई डोंट थिंक द स्क्रीन टाइम शुड बी मोर देन 20 to 25%. As long as we stick to this basic key ratio, काफी कुछ सैनिटी बची रहेगी बच्चों में. नहीं तो फिर वो डिस्टॉर्शन, मिसयूज, and then addiction, social media, reels, shorts, and nowadays a lot of other things distract the child, and it's easily available. Lot of content which the child should not access, उनको easily accessible है, और वो कितना भी क्या क्या करे गवर्नमेंट, उससे कुछ नहीं होता है. तो फाइनली द प्रिवेंशन इज बेटर देन क्योर. दिस इज ऑल आई कैन से. एंड जैसे आपने कहा कि वो जो रील्स वगैरह देखने में से क्या होता है कि दे आर नॉट हैविंग द पेशेंस टू लुक एट समथिंग फॉर अ लॉन्ग टाइम. दैट्स वो घर क्लास में जब बैठते हैं वही टीचर को देख रहे हैं 2 घंटा सिखाते वक्त या 1 घंटा, दे गेट इम्पेशेंट, दे कांट पे अटेंशन. सो देयरफॉर restricted use of the gadget is the only solution, and therefore ये reading to writing to screen time अगर ये रेगुलेट किया जाए तो अच्छा है. बाकी तो विवेक शक्ति पर ही है सभी के.
Okay.
And I
So,
can only say that parents have some access because some control over it because you are paying for it ना. तो इसलिए you have some control over it. That's why वो जितना कंट्रोल कर सकते हैं उतना, वो डेटा पैक कम इसका ले लो अगर, I don't know, you will have to figure it out depending on case to case, but this is the only way that can be solved. Yeah.
okay. So, आपने जो रीडिंग टू राइटिंग रेशियो बोला, हाउ मच दैट शुड बी?
अगेन इट डिपेंड्स ऑन एग्जाम टू एग्जाम, बट जैसे अभी फॉर एग्जांपल इस एंट्रेंस एग्जाम्स की पढ़ाई करने वाले बच्चे को रीडिंग टाइम शुड बी अराउंड 20%. 20% पढ़ने का है, लेकिन मेजोरिटी ऑफ इट लाइक 80%, सॉरी 60% इज राइटिंग टाइम. राइटिंग मतलब सॉल्विंग प्रॉब्लम्स.
सॉल्विंग
तो
प्रॉब्लम्स.
सॉल्व करना है, कभी कोई फॉर्मूला भी लिखना है, कभी कोई कुछ बाय हार्ट कलर चीज भी लिखना है, लिख के याद रहता है काफी बार. तो
करेक्ट.
आई एम सॉल्विंग प्रॉब्लम, तो इसलिए 20% to 60% to 20%, this could be a fair ratio. 20% स्क्रीन टाइम इसलिए बिकॉज आप कितना भी कुछ भी कहो, थोड़ा बहुत वीडियो लेक्चर्स बच्चा देखता है, थोड़ा बहुत उसको सॉल्विंग और टेस्ट, ये सारे टेस्ट आजकल ऑनलाइन है, तो टेस्ट प्रैक्टिस के लिए भी इलेक्ट्रॉनिक गैजेट यूज करना ही पड़ता है. सो द 20 to 60 to 20 इज अ फेयर रेशियो. बट हुआ क्या है कि 10 to 20 to 70 हो गया है. 70% टाइम स्क्रीन टाइम, 2/3 of their study time is screen time. And then they, when parents ask the child क्या कर रहा है, वो मेरा वीडियो लेक्चर रिवाइज कर रहा हूँ, मैं वो क्विज सॉल्व कर रहा हूँ, मैं असाइनमेंट कर रहा हूँ, एंड पेरेंट चला गया तो वो दूसरा ब्राउजिंग विंडो खुल जाता है, वहाँ पे कुछ और ही होता है, वीडियो गेम खेलना शुरू हो जाता है, सोशल मीडिया चालू हो जाता है, रील्स शुरू हो जाते हैं. I mean, there are so many things a child can do in the gadget. So then it's ultimately net it is more distractive than educative. So given this potential of the device, and the child doesn't have that sense of discrimination or that maturity at this age, कि वो हमेशा अपने फीलिंग्स पर वो काबू रख सकता है और वो ज्यादा एजुकेशन पे अपना वक्त गवाएगा, वक्त स्पेंड करेगा एंड नॉट ऑन एंटरटेनमेंट. इतना विजडम तो इज टू मच टू एक्सपेक्ट फ्रॉम एवरी चाइल्ड. सो थोड़ा प्रिवेंशन इज बेटर देन क्योर इज ऑल आई कैन से.
एक्चुअली ऐसे देखा जाता है तो 2 मिनट के लिए एजुकेशन और बचा हुआ टाइम पूरा सम रील में चला जाता है. एंड देन आई थिंक दे, मुझे तो ऐसा लगता है कि बाय द टाइम दे आर डन वाचिंग ऑल द रील्स, दे फॉरगॉट व्हाट दे केम फॉर.
एब्सोल्युटली. नहीं नहीं, बराबर है, वैसे ही हो रहा है, कुछ याद नहीं रहता फिर. मतलब मैं आपको और एक बात बताता हूँ, मतलब आई ये मेरे हमारे टीचर्स ने भी बताया है, इट्स माय एक्सपीरियंस आल्सो. प्री पैंडेमिक वी यूज्ड टू टीच वन concept and we used to tell the child in the class, when all the students in the class, कि याद है हम लोगों ने ये 2 महीने पहले किया था. एंड स्टूडेंट्स used to nod their heads. I mean, मतलब एक दो बच्चे जो सिंसियर नहीं पढ़ते उनका बात अलग है, लेकिन मोस्ट ऑफ देम यूज्ड टू हाँ हाँ सर किया था याद है 2 महीने पहले. अभी पोस्ट पैंडेमिक की बात है, अभी हम लोग कुछ पढ़ा रहे हैं, हम बोलते हैं लास्ट वीक किया था याद है, एंड दे आर लुकिंग एज इफ क्या, व्हाट आर यू टॉकिंग अबाउट, वी नेवर डिड समथिंग लाइक दिस. सो मतलब वो जो मेमोरी स्पैन है वो भी जा रहा है, बिकॉज देर आर सो मेनी इंप्रेशंस दैट द चाइल्ड इज गेटिंग ऑन हिज माइंड. वो क्लास से बाहर जाता है, मोबाइल ऑन करता है, उसको कुछ कुछ वहां पे देता है, इट द माइंड इज कंटिन्यूअसली रिसीविंग सो मेनी इंप्रेशंस. तो उसको एक वीक पहले क्या किया वो कुछ याद नहीं रहता है. तो दिस इज वेरी डेंजरस. आई मीन दिस इज फॉर द होल वर्ल्ड. आई मीन आई डोंट नो हाउ. देन द ओनली वे इज दैट यू हैव टू डिजिटल डिटॉक्स करना चाहिए. एंड we should all acknowledge that this is more destructive than educative and keep it away. Something like this. But currently it is difficult in the current atmosphere. But maybe with time, with the resolution of society and government help, hopefully कुछ तो ऐसा हो सकता है तो अच्छी बात रही.
मुझे बहुत सारे फ्रेंड्स पता है जिनके बच्चे 10th और 12th में है, तो मम्मियों ने खुद का व्हाट्सएप डिलीट कर दिया कि मैं ही नहीं जाऊंगी तो बच्चा भी नहीं जाएगा. सो
हाँ.
आई थिंक दे पुट themselves on the digital detox first. So at least कुछ
हाँ नहीं,
तो.
बट सम काइंड ऑफ डिजिटल डिटॉक्स आवश्यक ही हो गया है अभी. मतलब ये ना अपने लिए भी हो गया है. इट्स नॉट जस्ट फॉर द किड्स, इट्स फॉर ऑल ऑफ अस ऑल्सो. But in kids case it can take it can have very adverse effects and it can be quite harmful. So
Okay. So वन लास्ट क्वेश्चन, आपकी इंस्पिरेशनल स्टोरी अगर आप थोड़ा शेयर करेंगे कि व्हाट इंस्पायर्ड यू एंड दैट यू आर बीन अ डायरेक्टर फॉर 21 years. सो
वो
आप इतने
हमारा,
अच्छे से
या
हाउ यू आर मैनेजिंग एवरीथिंग.
नहीं एक्चुअली मतलब I accidentally got into this profession of teaching, but that somehow providentially I landed up in this profession. But what I realized is that um, if you love something, then you know वो रास्ते खुल जाते हैं. So whether it's entrepreneurship, whether it is teaching, and I honestly speaking could not believe that IIT JEE could be taught, because I have studied for that exam, and back in 94 I had written it, and I could crack it. But if you were to ask me that time also कि और एक बार अगर एग्जाम लिखनी है तो तू लिखेगा क्या, we say नहीं रे बाबा अब हो गया है क्रैक, बस हो गया है, kind of, you know, I mean it was a very difficult exam. And then later on 8 9 years later thinking कि इस एग्जाम को कोच कर सकते हैं कोई, माय गॉड, ये सिखाना मतलब तो बहुत मुश्किल है फिर इसको, मतलब हमने कैसे तो करके क्रैक किया था. अभी amongst our IITians we all joke like this only because it's a fact of the matter. वापस लिखने को बोला तो नहीं होने वाला है. अभी recently we had a reunion also of our 98 batch in IIT Bombay, 25 years के बाद मिलते हैं. तो ये वैसे हमारा कैसे IIT बने हमको पता नहीं, तो पढ़ा कैसे रहा है, मैं लग मुझे ही पता नहीं मैं कैसे पढ़ा रहा हूँ. बट इट्स लाइक दिस कि initially I was not feeling that this can be taught. But as I said, if you love the subjects, if you love the job of teaching, if you love to share your knowledge, then I realized that yes, there are ways to do it. There are ways to do it. It took time. It was not easy. I took 4-5 years for me to recognize कि exactly कैसे करना चाहिए. I also recognize कि what many other players in the circuit are doing, उसमें बहुत सारे flaws कैसे है, उसको कैसे rectify किया जा सकता है. मतलब one of the things is that stress free coaching बहुत important है. काफी बार लोगों को लगता है कि एग्जाम डिफिकल्ट है तो कोचिंग भी डिफिकल्ट होगा, सब डिफिकल्ट है, स्ट्रेस स्ट्रेस लेके करना है. ऐसा नहीं है. अगर उसको प्यार से ठीक से किया जाए, सिस्टमेटिकली किया जाए, सिखाना का काम भी और सीखने का काम भी, तो ये बहुत हैप्पीली एंजॉयबल जर्नी हो सकती है और मजेदार जर्नी होके यू कैन क्रॉस इट. इनफैक्ट आई रिमेंबर, आई ऑलवेज कोट दिस ऑफ गुरुजी, गुरुदेव श्री श्री रविशंकर जी ऑलवेज सेज, व्हेन यू फॉलो फन, misery follows you, but when you follow knowledge, fun follows you. So this is a very beautiful statement, and I think this has been the essence of my journey. I followed knowledge, and and fun followed me. So basically, I have enjoyed this journey of whatever I have done, and it is basically because of the love for the subjects and the love for the job. And काफी बार students भी ये पूछते हैं कि सर concentrate कैसे करें, how to concentrate well. मैं उनको पूछता हूँ कि क्रिकेट देखा क्या, कल का वो दिन का मैच देखा क्या, फुटबॉल देखा क्या, तो वो बोलते हैं कि देखा ना, लेकिन वहां पे कंसंट्रेशन कर पाए क्या. अरे उधर क्या कंसंट्रेशन करने की जरूरत है. आई लव मेसी, आई लव व्हाटएवर, रोनाल्डो, आई लव विराट कोहली, और आई लव एक्स वाई जी. आई वॉच द मैच, यू सॉ अ मूवी, आई वॉच्ड इट, आई एंजॉयड इट, वॉच दैट वेब सीरीज, आई एंजॉयड इट. तो वहां पे कोई कंसंट्रेशन करने का जरूरत नहीं पड़ता है. तो क्यों नहीं पड़ता है? बिकॉज यू लव इट, यू लाइक इट. So the whole problem is not about, so concentration actually effortlessly हो जाता है when you love something. So the problem is not about whether you're able to concentrate or not. The problem is that you don't like what you're doing. If you like what you're doing, then ये सब concentration करने की जरूरत ही नहीं है. It's an effortless process. So this is something which happened, and I would tell you that I am a regular practitioner of the Sudarshan Kriya, and I have followed Guruji's knowledge very keenly all these years. I've been an Art of Living follower from since '97. I did it in IIT Bombay only, and we used to really listen, and we used to wait for that knowledge sheet of Gurudev. Used to come every week, and we have really kind of thought a lot and tried to incorporate Guruji's knowledge in our lives. So I have realized that that is the essence. I mean, if you can digest those things and if you incorporate it in your life, then you will be successful in whatever you do. So if at all, to some degree, I have been successful in many things, I have failed in many things. It keeps happening. But one thing I have seen is that you can learn from your failures and you can enjoy your success, and you can work and you use this consolidated learning to do आगे का काम. So this is what I have used as a kind of a template. And I think if our intentions are noble, if you want to do good for ourselves and society and our families, and if you think through it properly and systematically go along with the process and keep learning. So even if you're a teacher, you have to be a learner first, you have to be a student first. Uh, Most things work out well. So this is, I'm giving you a short description of what I basically.
ऑलराइट. सो बेसिकली आज का जो आपने बताया, तो उसमें से बेसिक ये था कि देयर शुड, वट एवर यू आर डूइंग, यू शुड डू इट विद द लव एंड द पैशन, राइट?
That's
And
most.
prepare yourself for the failure. Digital detox is important. And then your concept and knowledge will be for any, to crack any competitive exam is 60%, and 40% is your attitude and the behavior you go with. And of course, the Kriya and the knowledge, art of living knowledge has helped you become centered and solve the competitive exams.
Yes, definitely. And I recommend students also to practice pranayam, yoga, meditation. This is very, very necessary nowadays. So like digital detox नहीं कर पाते हैं, कोई बात नहीं. If you want to use more of gadgets, then do meditation at least. That उससे विवेक शक्ति बढ़ेगी. तो that is also a good way to do it, because वो लोटस का गुरु जी का एग्जाम्पल हमेशा देते हैं कि इन द इट इज इन द वाटर, though it's in the water, it doesn't get wet. So that art of becoming like a lotus leaf is possible, or lotus petal is possible only if you do meditation. So you can be within that digital world and yet stay unaffected by it. So it is possible if you have some fourth state of consciousness का थोड़ा बहुत अनुभव. So therefore that meditation का भी बहुत आवश्यक है. तो अगर जिनको डिजिटल डिटॉक्स नहीं करना है एंड फिर भी गैजेट्स यूज करना है, दे कैन learn meditation and do meditation. Then you can have and you can enjoy that whatever you want to do with your games, video games and stuff. At the same time, remain fairly detached because of your meditative powers. It won't affect you unduly.
Okay. So बच्चों के लिए अपने दो कोर्सेस होते हैं. 8 to 13 के लिए उत्कर्ष योगा है, एंड देन 13 to 18 के लिए वी हैव मेधा योगा कोर्स. तो उनके लिए बच्चों के लिए क्रिया जो गुरुजी ने सिखाई है, तो वो उस कोर्स में ली जाती है. एंड देन वी हैव अ वेरी पावरफुल टेक्निक कॉल्ड इंट्यूशन प्रोसेस. सो बेसिकली दिस इज अ सिक्स सेंस. सो जिसके इम्प्रूव होने से आई थिंक कॉम्पिटिटिव एग्जाम में उसका बच्चों के लिए बहुत हेल्प हो जाएगा. इट विल गिव देम आइडिया कि which answer they should go for first, or the question they should answer first, which will give them an advantage to have more motivation.
Yes.
तो आपकी कुछ थॉट है कि how it will help them, the intuition process will help them guide
हाँ
through the.
मतलब मैं जितना मुझे जानते हो, आई डोंट नो हाउ इट वर्क्स. इट्स अ मिरेकल ऑफ एंड अ गिफ्ट फ्रॉम गुरुदेव ऑफ कोर्स. बट मैंने बहुत स्टूडेंट्स से जो इंटरेक्ट किया है, तो आई हैव बीन क्वाइट अमेज्ड टू सी देयर एबिलिटीज. तो एटलीस्ट वन थिंग आई कैन टेल यू फ्रॉम द मेधा योगा कोर्स एंड द उत्कर्ष योगा कोर्स, जो बच्चे हमने डील किए हैं, दे आर फार मोर स्टेबल. सत्व बढ़ जाता है, और सत्व बढ़ने की वजह से दे आर मोर रिसेप्टिव टू वॉट एवर इज बिंग टॉट. दे कैन सिट इन वन प्लेस एंड स्टडी, रीड. तो वो एक स्थैर्य आ जाता है कहीं ना कहीं, एंड रिसेप्शन एंड एबिलिटी टू असिमुलेट थिंग्स बढ़ जाता है. So this has been seen. We had done one project also in our institution. Manisha ji was also part of it, and where we actually tried to study two groups. We had one who had not done the Medha Yoga course, and the other who had done, and who were practicing the Kriya regularly. So there was a marked difference in their exam performance. We couldn't do it for extensive period, but we did it for a reasonably 5 months, 6 months period, and we could observe that there were differences. So ये फर्क पड़ता है. Intuition course तो I think पता नहीं, I mean I am not very sure how it works and all that, but it definitely opens up some petal of the consciousness, and due to which the student is able to uh, understand something deeper than what the normal world looks like. तो पता नहीं कैसे कर लेता है, but there are amazing experiences, amazing skills the child develops. So I would strongly recommend those who are uh, I mean having any challenges in studies, at the same time who are very good in studies and want to take it to another level, to do this intuition course, and maybe get some new skills and new powers and new siddhis. So it's
Yes.
very interesting. We are not fortunate probably. हम लोग को उस उम्र में नहीं मिला. तो but I think some intuitive powers we all have developed by doing meditation. So, and I have also experienced this in many times. And so I'm sure वो थोड़ा सा फ्लैशेस में हमको मिलता होगा, लेकिन इन बच्चे जो इंट्यूशन कोर्स कर रहे हैं उनको वो शायद वो उनके लिए वो रेगुलर फिनोमेना होता होगा. तो हमारे लिए इंट्यूशन मिरेकल है, उनके लिए इंट्यूशन रूटीन हो जाएगा.
Yes, yes, of course. So, Manisha ji here has a very beautiful video that she wants to present for us.